Hello friends, and welcome to The Hanged Man in the Moon. If this is your first time here, welcome. Thank you for coming. I'm pleased to meet you. If you've been here before, thank you for returning. I'm truly honored. Friends, if you are a returning visitor, you're probably wondering where the heck I am. Well, and why I look like this. Well, I just got off of an airplane. We just arrived at my mother's home in California, and so I'm completely disheveled, but I'm doing this video anyways. If you're new to the channel, let me tell you what I'm doing. This is a dive into a very particular, unique, and expansive deck called The Tarot of the Holy Light by Christine Payne-Towler. And what I do is every day I draw a card from that deck. And I look at it and I acknowledge the ideas, the symbols, the experience I have with Golden Dawn based decks, like the Smith-Waite, the Harris Crowley, the Thoth, the RWS decks, which I've had a lot of experience with. But this is a different deck. So I want to disentangle those thoughts, those threads that I unconsciously tie the new card up with. So I want to disentangle that and really face and confront and acknowledge the card as it appears for me without all of that baggage as much as I possibly can. And to help me do that, what I do is I draw 3 cards from an RWS, a style deck called the Light Seers Tarot, the Light Seers Tarot. And those 3 cards help me unpack the meaning of the daily draw. The first card is a significance card, the significance of the card that I pulled. The second card is the obstacle. The third card is the advice. So a standard 3-card spread, significance, obstacle, advice. And then I go through the day, and at the end of the day, I look at my handy-dandy guidebook for the Tarot of the Holy Light, and I look at the meaning as intended by the creator of that deck. This is a deck based on the Continental Tarot, just so you know, based on the systems surrounding like Tarot de Marseille, the Itea deck, etc. So I look at that meaning, and then I reflect on all of that happened, all of the things that happened for me during the day, the meanings that are implicit in the deck, and the things that I thought about during the day. And then I do a video, which is what I'm doing now. So the card that I got today was the 10 of Wands upright. And what do we see? We see 2 snakes on ancient looking crosses. They're the Tau cross. And we have one snake is red, one snake is blue, which gives me the idea of yin yang, the active, the passive, the light, the dark, the fire, the water, all those dualistic ideas. But we've got both of them here, both of them wrapped around the cross. We've got the 10 wands and we got this raging fire in the background, but the fire and the snakes are removed. This fire has not really taken over the entire scene, but there's that potential, right? We've got the sun in the morning and the moon at night. Now, to me, looking at these snakes, I know now that the creator did not intend this to be as such, but these snakes look kind of happy to me. To me, what I see when I see these snakes is 2 very happy snakes having seen, oh, look, I could crawl up there and see what's going on a little bit farther away. So they wind their way up and they're just kind of checking things out. They look very happy to me. Now, apparently these snakes are being crucified. Very different experience. But when I first looked at the card in the morning, those snakes look happy to me. That's just my twisted imagination, I guess. I see these 2 potentially antagonistic but paired, like Mars and Venus, paired elements that are going along together and going up these poles and checking things out. So that's what I think. Now, when I think of the card in, for example, a card drawn by Pamela Coleman Smith, I think of burden. We see the guy with these 10 large sticks. He's not holding them on his back. This guy is holding them in front of him, and he's really having a hard time. You see the place he's probably going to is not too far in the distance. He's almost there, but still it's this big burden of all this heavy lumber. So the burden card, yeah, almost there, not quite there, but it's still a big burden. I just have to get there. That's what I think of when I see that card. I didn't really think of that when I saw this. I thought of, okay, there's a fire raging and it could get out of control, so be careful. Those are the things that I thought of when I first saw this. And the idea of balancing things. And if you keep things balanced, maybe that fire would not necessarily rage into a devastation. So I pulled my 3 cards from the Lightseer's Tarot just to see what I could get out of that one card, to help me unpack it. And so let me show you those cards right now. Now, those 3 cards are interesting, right? We had the Page of Cups. The Page of Cups has been coming up for me quite a bit these days. And then in the opposition obstacle position, we had the Chariot. Now, that actually made perfect sense to me. And then the 3 of Wands as advice. So let me start with the central card, because that's the one that makes the most sense for me, especially in relation to the 10 of Wands, the Chariot. Yeah, the Chariot. The Chariot in reverse could be 2 things. Well, it could be several things to me. One could be not getting your horses in line. You know, we see these 2 horses. There's the light horse, there's the dark horse. There's a potential they want to go in opposite directions, and the charioteer has to get them in line and going in the same direction, right? So in reverse, it could be efforts going in opposite directions and not push me, pull you kind of situation going on. In reverse, it could also be an overdominance of will, forcing things to happen, using all of the effort that you have to force things, to bang things into place the way you think that they should be. Yeah, it's upright. It's having made your decision and using your willpower, the power of intention to move in that direction, right? In reverse, it's forcing it to work, to happen the way you think it has to happen. That's another possibility. Which, knowing me and knowing the potentials for this, made sense as a potential obstacle, as a drawback, as a thing to watch out for. And so the advice is, don't do that. Keep your vision, just keep your vision clear. Where are we going? Where's the intended next milestone, the next outpost, the next place we're going to go? Keep your eye on that and just move in that direction. Don't force it to happen. Just naturally move in that direction. Like this surfer with her board. Yeah, she goes out, she gets on the wave, and she just naturally, she chooses the right wave. She chooses the wave that she wants and just rides it. She doesn't try to make the wave happen. She doesn't try to force the wave to go in the direction she wants to go. She chooses the wave and follows it naturally, right? So that would be good advice. Now, the significance being the Page of Cups. This one is a little bit tricky for me, and maybe, I mean, it could be this simple. It could just be, this is the young boy, yeah, the young one with emotional connection. It could be a good son. It could be being the good son in the situation that I'm in. Now, I'm not exactly the age of what we would normally consider to be a Page of Cups. My signs are generally fire. Well, at least my sun sign is fire. But, you know, it could be that. It could be having the emotional connection, the youthful emotional connection to my mother, and being supportive as a son should be. Maybe that's all that it. I mean, that's a lot, but still, that may be what it's trying to tell me. So let me tell you what the book says. And this is interesting. The book does not dissuade us from the idea of burden at all. The 10 of each suit stands for a convergence of all the energies, characteristics, and expressions of its element. Now, so the 10s of each suit are the convergence of all elements. For example, so the 10 of Wands is all of the fire. Yeah? The 10 of Cups is all of the water. Also, in these forms, fire is the energy that stimulates, speeds up, and irritates the world, forcing growth and change, whether it's wanted or not. So there's the fire burning, right? Whether we want it or not, it's really, the heat has been put on. You think of a kettle being set on top of this fire, now it's going to start boiling pretty quickly. Now, whether we want it or not, the water is going to start boiling. It's not necessarily a destructive fire. It could also be a creative fire, like burning the underbrush so that new life can grow. Okay, so moving right along to, in fact, the serpent has been a powerful, mysterious, and charged symbol for all humans since the dawn of time. Now, those serpents, there are serpents everywhere. It's not just the serpent in the tree in the Christian or Judeo-Christian Bible. There are also serpents that play a significant role in Buddhism, in Hinduism, in many of the religions, the snake goddess. And those are all very charged elements, and not all of them are negative. Some of them are very positive. Some of them are the creative spirit of the world. So moving right along. In this, I mentioned that, in this card, the intention of the creator and the creators of this deck is that these serpents are crucified. The Ten of Wands represents an all-out sacrifice, an ultimate commitment to a sacred trust that demands everything you have to give. We are looking at a pre-Christian crucifixion, portraying the agony of Sophia Logos, taking on the cross of matter in her effort to awaken the fallen souls to their divine nature. Now, so it's it's a little different than Odin hanging himself on the tree to get the runes. This is Sophia sacrificing herself, the Logos sacrificing herself for the awakening of all living beings. So, sort of like, a little bit like Guan Yin. In Chinese or in Korean, we call her Guanseun Bosal, the spirit who decides not to move on to nirvana after enlightenment, but to sacrifice and stay behind to serve the enlightenment of all living creatures. I mean, there could be that kind of an image with this 10 as well. I'm not saying that's me, but there's that potential. When you see this card fall upright in your spread, be of good cheer. Whew, that was a good thing to read. You are coming to the culmination of your labors. Your suffering will not have been experienced in vain. Your mission is to do whatever it takes to give your all and expend yourself utterly, letting spirit determine the results. So, yeah, don't force it. Don't force it. Spirit will determine your results. Give it all, and trust that spirit will determine the results. Just keep your eye on the prize and spirit will move us in the direction. So let me tell you about my day. Today was getting mother home, right? So we got her on the plane, and knowing that this was, actually I didn't know this was a problem right away, because I didn't get to this, to pulling my cards until we actually got on the plane, because the morning was we had enough time, but all of that time was necessary. Getting my mom ready to go, getting everything into the van, getting the van to the airport, getting my mom from the car to the waiting area, where we waited for about an hour, and then at that time we ate breakfast, so we weren't just resting. We had to do the breakfast thing then. By the time we finished breakfast, then we had to get my mom to the plane. We got on the plane, and then I pulled my cards. Interestingly, one of the stewardesses apparently is a tarot reader, and she asked later on in the flight, after she mentioned or she showed her sympathy and her understanding and her empathy for my situation, having a mother who is slowly losing her cognitive functions and how difficult that can be. And then later on, she started briefly talking tarot with me, asked me what cards I pulled, and gave me a little tip that she had for pulling a card before she goes to bed and not looking at the card, putting the card under her pillow and sleeping with it and then looking at the next morning. It was a very interesting conversation. So there was that. And so we got my mom to New York. We got her through customs. We went down to baggage. And let me tell you, the people in New York, not the workers, the first person who was helping my mother was excellent, the young man. The second person was so-so. The third person in New York was less than so-so, but not a problem, just not so-so, not great. When I say helping my mom, pushing her in a wheelchair. When we got into baggage claim, we had to pick up our bags and then put them onto the domestic flight to get her from New York to California. And I'm telling you, the people at that carousel catch for the baggage were probably all fine, except for the people right next to me. We got there early. We got there very early. We were the first off the plane almost. So we got there. We scouted out a spot at the carousel waiting for the bags to come, and other people came down and came around. And then there was this one family of four people. Two elderly people, one like a grandson, and then another person. But the two elderly people and the grandson were standing right next to me at the carousel. And our baggage was going to be the first to come out. I knew not exactly number one, but the first groups, because we had special priority because we were changing to another plane, but also because my mother has wheelchair assistance. All those reasons, we had the baggage we knew was going to come out first. And so when I saw the first one coming down, I asked the other people to back off a little bit so that I'd have space to get the bag off the carousel and I wouldn't smack it into them. They were very unhappy that I asked them to move out of the way. It was like, I'm just trying not to hit you. I didn't say that, but so then I got the first bag off, and then I saw the second one. I said, please, just give me some space until I get these bags off. And they were grumbling amongst themselves. And then the third one was come out. I said, just please give me space. Just back off a little bit. And they wouldn't move. And so I touched the elderly woman right next. It was the weakest person right next to me, and the one I was most afraid of hurting if I were to slip up moving this large suitcase off of the carousel. So I just tapped her on the shoulder and said, please. And they said, oh, don't touch her. Like, oh my God. They said, well, you can go over there. I was here first. There were no first. There was this whole thing. They were there wasn't shouting or anything, but they were right. They had the right to be there, and it was all of that. And I just wanted to make sure I didn't hurt anybody. I was trying to tell them that, and that just didn't make sense to them. And they had the right to be there. And oh my goodness. And so I realized at that point that I was really doing this. I was really trying to force what I thought was right. And I'd fallen into the trap. I'm not saying that I was entirely wrong. I'm not saying that I was right, but I did fall into that trap. And it's interesting because a couple of other times I pulled cards during the trip today because I just wanted to see how things were going to go. And I pulled a 3-card spread for how the transit was going to go. And one of the cards that came up was the 10 of Swords as the obstacle. And so there it was right there. A 10 of Swords kind of mental anguish kind of moment, because after that I was replaying that scenario, that situation over and over and over in my head, trying to justify myself and make the other people more wrong than they probably were. So yeah, it's very interesting. The next set of cards I pulled for the next leg of the journey was a 9 of Swords as the obstacle. And it's like, okay, yeah, it's all up here. So the last leg of the journey was fine. We got my mom's bags and we got her into a car. We drove to her home. She came in. She's tired, but she's okay. She was grumpy that she couldn't have we gave her a snack. We gave her fruit. We gave her cheese, and then she ate that. We gave her meds. She took them. And then we said, okay, time for bed. And then she said, I want a snack. And she got very upset that she wasn't getting us an extra snack, which she shouldn't be getting because of her diabetes and being so late at night and so many other reasons. And we haven't checked her blood sugar. We weren't able to check her blood sugar because she had just eaten, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So I think she's in bed now. We have other help here. The people that help her when I'm not here. So that's okay. Everything's okay. But so what do I think? I think this card today might actually be that, yes, this was that final push. Today was the final push, getting my mom here, and I'm coming to the end of this cycle of the vacation that went in another direction, that went into caregiving rather than adventure in, just a very different adventure, right? The adventure of hospitals and emergency care and doctors and medications and isolation and all of those things. So, this could be saying, okay, so yes, this was the final push. And it makes absolute sense, right? And I could see where this had been an obstacle clearly in one place, and I felt it starting to come up in other points, and I backed off. I was able to back off more easily after that one really, really clear episode of my not backing off, and said, okay, I don't want to do that again. Do not want to do that again. So I was able to back off much more easily. And really, people in the other airports are fine. The one group of people, that one family in New York, except for them, the other people are fine. When I got to California, everybody gives everybody else space, and there's no interference, there's no problem, there's nothing. So that's my day. What do you think? Does this make sense to you? Let me know. If you're still here, hit the thumbs up button so that people know that you enjoyed watching this and it might draw more eyes to the channel. Subscribe if you haven't subscribed, and hit the alarm bell so you get notifications of when I upload videos. I'm still going to try doing one a day until I have to get back to work, if I can. I know I had promised that I would do more than a 1-card draw when I started this series. I thought I would go into 2 cards and 3 cards, but because of the way things happen, 1 card has been my limit to process in a day because of the other things that I've been processing during the day. So I'm going to continue with a 1-card spread, I think. It might change my mind, but I'll probably continue with the 1-card spread. So until I start back at real work. And comment below, I'd love to hear what you think about this day, this card, how the card revealed itself to me. If you want a private reading, there's my email below. Shoot me an email and let me know that you want a reading. I got a chance to do a reading last night after I recorded my video. Now, a guy was watching me record my video in the lounge in the hotel at the other place. And after I finished recording the video, he asked me if I could read his cards. So I read his cards. It was kind of cool. It was the first time I read for an absolute stranger I'd never met, hadn't talked about it. Just in that moment, yes, and we read, and it was a very wonderful experience. I loved that. It was, the reading felt good, felt correct. It felt like he was confirming the things that I was saying for him. So that was really cool. And then today, talking about tarot with the stewardess was a cool experience too. Anyways, so shoot me an email if you want a private reading. And friends, now, as always, I wish you love, joy, well-being, and pure awareness. Thank you.